Welcome, guys, to ILW Pod. I'm your host, Justin Wright. Today we have with us another student from A4 down there in Georgia, Neji Ichiban. How you doing today, man?
I'm doing great, man. How about yourself?
Great. Glad to have you on the show. It's always I'm always happy to connect
Great to be here.
lately with you guys down there in Georgia.
Oh yeah. Where are you?
um,
Where are you from?
Out in like probably an hour and 40 minutes away from Chicago.
Oh damn. So you like up
Yeah.
north, like
Yeah.
up north Midwest kind of area. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
Uh,
my fault.
So
Hell
I'll start
yeah.
off. You just down there was a hurricane. Did you get impacted by that at all?
Um, Not in my area. I know in Atlanta especially had like a lot of flooding and stuff like that, and North Georgia and stuff, but like I know mainly North Carolina, Carolina was hit, Florida, all like basically all of like the surrounding areas. Savannah, I think
Okay.
it got like majorly impacted by it. But yeah, like I had messaged all my family personally just to make sure they were safe, and they were. So I was very happy to hear that and stuff. But I know it was like crazy disaster. There was a ton of rain, like ton of rain, and lots of flooding in my area at least.
So I'm glad that it didn't hit you. I was talking to a guy actually the other day. Um, he is in Florida, and he got hit by it really bad. We actually had to postpone the interview a couple hours so it stopped storming, and he still did the interview. So I figured I'd throw that out there, check on you, make sure hurricane didn't affect you too bad.
Yeah, I appreciate you. Sadly it did affect like some bookings and stuff like that, but you know I the first thing I would rather prioritize over anything else is everyone's safety and like everyone's way of life in a sense. I'm not going to try to jeopardize that for pro wrestling. I love it, but lives come
You
first
gotta
before anything else.
you gotta keep breathing first.
Yeah, for real.
Before we dive into the actual questions and all that stuff, do you want to throw out your social media handles or any upcoming bookings that you got, just to go ahead and get the plugs out of the way?
Yes, actually, I'm so glad that you started with this because I didn't want to like forget anything. Well, I know that my next upcoming booking is October 27th. It's going to be at RIPW Renegade Independent Pro Wrestling. It's going to be me and Dante Darko, the Dark Passion Assassins, versus Top Team, Mr. Danger, and Keelan Cole. Uh, you can follow all of RIPW and their stuff on YouTube, from there. As for me, all of my socials and stuff is Neji underscore Ichiban or Neji Ichiban. That's Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, what have you. That's how you can contact me for any and all things. I also have a YouTube channel, Neji Ichiban, where I post a lot of variety of matches as well as highlights of the said matches and stuff like that. I'm trying to figure out different ways to use YouTube instead of just posting my wrestling matches, but that'll come at a later date. But I also want to give a big shout out to Renegade as well. He recently um had a GoFundMe set up as because of a incident that happened where he was doing security at a Dollar General and unfortunately got shot. He is alive and well and everything like that. But he has a GoFundMe set up to go and donate to the man himself and just to make sure that he can heal and heal properly because we're a brotherhood. We want to come together and make sure that everyone is alive and well above all else and stuff like that. So I want to give a big shout out to him because he's helped me and plenty of other wrestlers a bunch. And, I'll forever give him praise for helping with that, whether it be bookings or shouting them out or what have yous. And yeah, shout out top team shit. I made list all the names, but it's a lot of names. But
Um,
yeah,
do you got any merch or anything like that that you would like to shout out or let anybody know where to get that?
I do not have an online store set up, so unfortunately, all of the merch and stuff, until I can figure out like the whole shipping situation and stuff, all of the merch that I do have, whether it be shirts or pins that Stella Randy makes, will be sold all in person. So on October 27th, they'll be sold there, as well as any other events. As far as I know, that's where I will be this weekend. I'll be out
Okay,
of town and stuff like that. So just keep an eye out on all my social medias just to see where I will display passion next.
of course. The generic first question for a wrestling podcast is when did you fall in love with wrestling? So we'll just start there.
Ah, when did I fall in love with wrestling? I'd have to say there's like so many different times that I like truly fell in love with wrestling because it was first I fell in love with wrestling in like the pomp and circumstances through video games. I played WWF SmackDown Just Bring It with my brothers and loved the game so much to the point where I would go and watch it with my brother as it would be playing and stuff. And I remember Jeff Hardy being like the one that I was like, oh, this is my guy. This is my dog. He's the greatest of all time. And from there, it just kept going on into all of these different things. I found, I obviously watched WWE first and scrolled through all their past WWF and stuff like that, WCW. But then I found the world of indie wrestling, which I was like, whoa, this is completely different than what I have seen on TV, but it's not like a bad different. Like it was a great different, and it was refreshing to see that like a medium as pro wrestling has so many different layers and so many different stories within each style of wrestling as a whole. And yeah, I'd have to say like there could be I could name like a million and one times, but it's WWF SmackDown Just Bring It was when I got my introduction to wrestling, and Jeff Hardy was basically who the gateway drug to pro wrestling for me.
Okay, you mentioned SmackDown, just bring it. What do you think's better? Here comes the pain or just bring
Um, because I never played Here Comes the Pain,
it?
I'm going to say Just Bring It.
Okay.
But I have heard great things about Here Comes the Pain. I'm pretty sure it was also made by Ukes, right?
Yep.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And Ukes just like they knew how to make a wrestling game, like point blank period. It was crazy, especially with like the animations and how fluid they are. And even to this day, you can go back and like play the old ones, and the animations are still like, whoa. Especially when you like do the King of Pro Wrestling and Virtual Pro Wrestling and all of the other like Wrestling Coliseum and stuff like that, the other Ukes projects that aren't just WWE. It was so ahead of its time, and like I wish I had a PC that could run like the older games.
Definitely. Something else I'll ask is, we all have been to wrestling somewhat as a kid or like in person. What was your first experience like, seeing wrestling live and in person?
uh I was a bit of a late bloomer when I went to my first wrestling like show, like first
Okay.
wrestling show period. It wasn't until 2016 that I went to like my first wrestling show. It was a Raw, I think, which is the crazy thing to say, at least for me, like just still in the grand scheme of things. Like it's first wrestling show being Raw is just like really cool to me. And it just so happened to be the year that Jeff Hardy and Matt Hardy were signed to the WWE. I think they had just gotten signed back or something. And I saw them in person, and it was so cool seeing the Shield in person when they were all together. I think it was their reunion tour or something like that. Something. But they were together, and so we saw Roman, Seth, and John Moxley just going through the crowd, hoping that we were there in the crowd, and it was an experience. I went with my older brother. I think my little brother was there too. I can't remember, but we were just having a blast. Like it was like all the yelling, all the cheering, and you know, seeing all of the wrestlers that I both liked when I was a kid, and then the wrestlers that I had liked, from recent time. Like I'm a huge Shinsuke Nakamura fan, and I was able to see him live as well, and that was just it was definitely such a positive experience that like I was I was just elated with joy about it. Like
Okay.
yeah, it was just a crazy time just to be like, oh man, especially seeing like, Jeff Hardy and the Hardy Boys live, that was just really dope for me. But yeah, man, it
Uh,
was yeah.
um, so, moving on, like, how did you go about finding your start or getting in the door to start training?
Uh it took a minute, I will say. Like I was really like I was going to school at first. I was going to my local college trying to get like my uh credits so that I can transfer to a university and get my bachelor's in psychology. But after a certain point, it got to where I was like not enjoying it and not putting as much effort into it. So I started working full time just to make ends meet. And I was still watching wrestling, like just still like heavy watching it like every day. I'm watching all sorts of wrestling, but I just didn't know if I personally could really do it because I never really did like sports like that or like too many athletic things. And it wasn't until 2021 when I went to my first indie wrestling event, which was the WWA 4. One of my coworkers had started training before me, Troy Carter. You might have seen him here and there. He's actually the one that had told me about the WWA 4. So I had gone there to see, what it's like, And when I got there, it was so great. Like it was up close, closer than like I've ever thought I'd be to a wrestling ring. And like it was another like elation of joy just to sit there and watch wrestling so close and seeing like all of the moves happen at like ringside, basically as if I was sitting next to Michael Cole at the commentary booth, and when I had gone to that show, I was like, maybe I can do this because if my coworker can do this, then I don't see why not. So in February 2022, I started training, and I was not going to I was not going to stop or let anything stop me from this because like as soon as I started training, like after the first month, as painful as it was, I was still like, oh no, I have to keep going with this. And so I just kept going and going and going and then made my debut officially October 2022. And I've just never looked back since. I've just tried my hardest to keep like uh my physique, keep everything interesting, keep everything fresh, and still like making sure that I am displaying passion and showing why I feel or why I am the passion of pro wrestling.
Okay. Um, the head trainer of A4 is AR Fox. What's it what was it like the first time getting to meet him in person, and what's he like?
Incredible. Incredible. That is the word that I could say for both meeting him and both describing what he is like. He he is one of those guys that is so personable and so humble that you forget that you had seen him. Well, not forget, but you almost get lost in the fact that yes, he's a star, but this is my friend. And as even though I am still a huge, huge, huge AR Fox fan, I now can also consider AR Fox my friend as well. And he is just such a great dude. So you can never read what exactly it is that he's feeling, but when you hear what he says, it's like, oh, okay, I understand completely how it is. And he's just such a such a great such a great wrestler, understands it to a level that a lot of people generally don't think about. Not to say, not to really shit on anyone or anything like that, but he thinks about it in a different way where it's it makes it fun while still being able to really be a great pro wrestler just off of learning, five things, and it's the way that he'll break things down and explain it and get you to understand is just it, it's in a way that it makes sense. And he's just an incredible performer. He's just an incredible wrestler. I could give him all the flowers that he deserves and it still wouldn't be enough. It's one of those things where it's AR Fox deserves endless amount of flowers. He's just he is the indie wrestling king, I feel like, in terms of what he has contributed both in and out of the ring to a lot of different people.
I've heard him referred to as, an underground king. Like
Yes.
if that's the best way that anybody's ever described AR Fox so far on the show is he is the underground king and
Yes.
pretty much undisputed underground king, which
Yeah.
you can't dispute it.
Nah, you really can't because it's you know, AR Fox walks into a room and you know, not that he expects it, but his presence just commands a certain level of respect just because of you know what he's done. Like if you're an indie wrestler and you don't know AR Fox, then it's you know, do you watch indie wrestling for real? But
Exactly.
yeah, he's just he's the man. He is the man. It's to the point where even my family, my mom especially isn't really a super huge wrestling fan, but if AR Fox is having a match, she'll be like, "Oh, well, I have to see it." And so
That's cool.
yeah, and so I'll forever be appreciative of him because he has helped me so much more than he will ever know, and I cannot say enough good things about him.
I know like earlier you mentioned you started October of 2022.
Yes.
So we're 2 years from that. What's that journey been like so far?
Um, the journey has been very interesting. It's had a lot of ups and downs. The biggest down that I had was in my first year. It was last year in April. I had broken my jaw. And it happened in the ring. I hold no ill will. There's no reason to. It was crazy, insane. had the match, finished the match, and cut a promo after with a broken jaw, which probably wasn't the smartest thing to do, but I still won. So I had to say something, you know? And that was like the first major setback for me that I was like, even though I was like so young in wrestling and didn't really know too much, but like, knew enough, I had felt like this broken jaw was going to be like the end. Like I was going to hang up the boots, do other avenues in wrestling, whether it be like a commentator, announcer, anything like that. But my girlfriend Stella Randy, my manager in pro wrestling, she really helped me like through that whole recovery process overall. And like I can never thank her enough for that, or show my appreciation enough for that, because it was really hard to feel as much pain as I did, because I don't know if you've ever broken your jaw or broken something, especially in your mouth. Like I had to have it wired for a month straight. I had two brackets, five screws on the bottom gums, and then five screws on the top gums, and then I had rubber bands to like wire it all shut. And it sucked. Like it sucked, and it felt like it felt very like it felt very humiliating because of having to go on an all liquid diet and stuff. But I I prevailed, and fast forward now, I'm here, healthy. Jaw is still working. I still have two metal plates, but that's neither here nor there. And I would like to say that I am flourishing in, indie wrestling so far. Like I've made several debuts within a month and have made it a point to like make my claim as the Prince of Passion in pro wrestling, is to make sure that my name is cemented in the books.
Okay. You mentioned working with your significant other. What's that like? You hear good things and you hear bad things about working with your partner.
Mhm.
What's it like for you?
For me, it's wonderful. Like there's no issues that I really have. Like, I look out for her, she looks out for me. And yeah, like it's funny. When I had met her, she didn't watch wrestling like that for real. Like she knew of it and knew what it was like, but she didn't really watch wrestling like that. And so when she had met me, I had started watching wrestling, and I had was trying to figure out like a wrestler he that she could watch to see, like, gauge like what she likes in wrestling, because there's like so many different flavors of wrestling that you can't show anyone like you can't show anyone like a Lucha Underground match and expect them to like it immediately. You gotta like sort of cater to what you think they would like. And so I thought, let me put on Dalton Castle. And once she saw Dalton Castle, she got it. Like she understood what pro wrestling was all about. And I was like, this is amazing. And so, we were talking and talking and talking. And she had thrown out the idea of being my manager in pro wrestling. And I was like, I was a little hesitant at first, because I'm like, do you like, is this something that you actually want to do, or are you just doing it, because, I'm in it. And, she was down to like actually do it and stuff. So I was like, okay, well, then we'll write it in. She was helping me like write stories and stuff that we would do on the Thursday shows. She was helping me do like figure out like uh how I could present myself and how to fit her in the puzzle piece. So where I am the Prince of Passion, she is the Princess of Passion, and together we are on the journey to display passion in the ring day in and day out. And it's been like that since when was it? September last year.
Okay.
Hmm.
Um, you mentioned being the Prince of Passion, her being the Princess of Passion. Something fun I like to do on the channel is kind of like a character breakdown or a character analysis. How would you sum up who Neji is?
So Neji Ichiban is is a man that harnesses the power of passion. What is passion? Everybody has their own things, whether it be, you know, an artistic representation of a painting or a sculpture or things of that nature. Pro wrestling is my passion. That is the one that I choose to be my passion, and I will display it in several different ways, whether it be jumping off the top rope and landing on you, or whether it be driving heads through the mat. That is passion. Now, sometimes the passion can get out of control. That's why the Princess of Passion is there, so that the seven passions can be controlled. That is the way that I have interpreted what I am. In short, I am a real life anime character.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's there's a lot of different layers to it, and I want to, actually make like a vignette of the whole thing explaining it, because I could spend like 3, 4 hours just explaining one of the passions, just because I've like, as soon as I started training, I started writing down like everything that I could think of for this. So, um, yeah, that's basically what I can say, what my character represents, or what I present and who I am.
You mentioned anime. I take it if the characters, kind of like a live, real life anime character, you gotta enjoy anime. What would you say like your favorite is?
My favorite is JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. I know
Okay.
most people would think Naruto. It was Naruto. I still do love Naruto, and I will rewatch Naruto all the time. But I also rewatch JoJo's Bizarre Adventure very often. I take a lot of inspiration in both anime, both Naruto and JoJo's Bizarre Adventure take heavy inspiration from that, just because like I feel like I can incorporate the ideas that are from there into wrestling and make it my own in a unique way to present it. It's you have you seen JoJo's Bizarre Adventure?
No, my next question was going to be I'm not a big, I've never really found a way into anime. Like anime, there's a lot of it, and trying to find a genre I like has been difficult. Um,
Yeah.
my next question was going to be for somebody that isn't involved in that, genre. What would be like your opinion on a good avenue to get into something like that?
A good avenue to get into it.
Yeah, like
Or
where, like as somebody who doesn't know much about anime, where should I start?
hmm. Um,
I always get Naruto, and Naruto's just like I've tried to watch it a couple times, and it's just I don't know what it is.
Naruto
It's just I'm
Naruto has a lot of world building in it, especially starting out, and like it's slower. I still will recommend it because it is really good, but it has a lot of filler, and there's like very weird, wonky ways to navigate through it to see like what is and isn't filler, even though I personally like all the filler, but to each their own. Uh, as for some shows that I would recommend you to watch. Yu Yu Hakusho will always be like one of the top animes that I recommend people to watch just because like it's easily digestible. The like I think it's only what 4 or 5 seasons, if that. Like it's a pretty easy watch. And it's just that one is just really fun. It's no filler, so it's just like straight action all throughout and everything, world building. Initial D, I don't know if you like cars and stuff like that, and like racing and street racing and stuff like that, but that's what that is. It's a street racing anime.
Okay.
Um, what else? There's another Cowboy Bebop. That's what it is. Cowboy
I think
Bebop
I've
is
heard of that
awesome.
one.
Yeah, yeah, with like Spike Spiegel and May Valentine and all them. Yeah, that's a really good anime. My cousin was the same way as you. Like he didn't watch anime for the longest time, just like couldn't find like what really interested him. When he watched Cowboy Bebop, he understood and like started watching more anime and stuff. So Cowboy Bebop, above all else, I definitely highly recommend just because it's like if you watch like a lot of TV, it's like a lot of, live action or like regular animated series and stuff. Cowboy Bebop is very similar to what that would present, and it's really good. Really, really
Okay.
good.
Um, what's it like, trying to take something like that you see on TV or that you've watched and putting it into a character for wrestling?
It's fun. That's like there's no other way, there's no other word that I can say. It's just fun. It's like you you always hear like, you're the best wrestlers or the best characters in wrestling are just extensions of who the person is or who the wrestler really is.
Hmm.
And you know there is no lie in that. Like it's all truth. Like you you take from all of these different mediums, whether it be something from like, the 80s, or whether it be something from the early 2000s, you take all of them and you can meld it into your own specific creation and concoction. It's like when you're on, it's like when you're customizing your moves for your wrestling character. You can do anything and everything you want. And then when you go to create your move, you can do that. You can create your entrance. And it's like doing all of that while simultaneously grabbing from all these other pieces of media. It makes it that much more enjoyable because you now have not only pro wrestling to use to be able to convey who you are, but you have all these different media that pro wrestling can also be applied to. Because anything like everybody at the fore, we all talk about how like anything and everything is pro wrestling. Like all the time, there's always a good guy, bad guy, and sometimes good guys win, sometimes the bad guys win. But like we're just able to just have fun with it, and that's like that's something that I I will never take for granted in this sport. Like being able to have fun with it and being able to grab from different mediums to be able to present a unique way of pro wrestling for people. Because you always like everybody always claims they've seen everything in wrestling, so then we prove it. Let's yeah, you've seen everything in wrestling, but have you seen a real life anime character? Have you seen a sun god? Have you seen a real deal? Have you seen like the dangerous one? We want to present something unique enough to where even a casual fan could see it and they're like, "Oh, I get it. That's Captain America, that's Iron Man, and they have their own teams. I see now." Like just to use like a mainstream pop culture example of it. It's it's just it fulfills everything that I need creatively. And
Yeah,
it's forever fulfilling because it's a constant revolving door of just constant writing and doing all that stuff. Everybody has their own different way of doing things, but yeah, like for the most part, we all are under the same scope and under the same understanding of what we want pro wrestling to be.
okay. Another question that I'll throw out there is, as I've noticed you do a lot of single stuff and tag stuff. Um, which one would you say you prefer? Like, which one do you think is your style?
Mhm. That's a tough one. That's a tough one because I love being in, like, I love tag teaming with Dante Darko as the Dark Passion Assassins. Like I love doing that. It's fun. Like we're able to turn what would be a one-on-one to a 2v2 and adding more moving pieces to an already amazing scenario. But if I had to choose, I would have to choose singles. Like I would prefer to be singles just because um I always want to get better, and like even though I'm naturally hard on myself, I feel as though I'm the only one held accountable for, anything that happens. So, no one else could possibly be to blame. And, I don't like, sorry, I lost my train of thought. But I just prefer singles wrestling just because like I I know that even if I mess up, I can be held accountable and like look back on what I've done instead of being able to try to hide it through like another moving part in like a tag team or something like that or a multi-man match.
Okay.
Yeah.
Um, Another question would be, what's it like, after training, not saying that you're done training, but what's it like, after training, trying to get your name out there to other promotions to get more bookings and stuff like that?
Pulling up,
Just
pulling
pulling
up.
up.
I know that's like an old school way of thinking or an old head way of thinking or what have you, but Um, I was taught to, if there's a show going around, obviously before you pull up, try to find the promoter, message the promoter, and like tell them that you're pulling up and like pull up, help set up, talk. That's another thing. Like people don't feel the need to talk to everybody too much. And I get it. It's hard to be sociable. Like I don't necessarily talk to every single person in every locker room that I'm in, but I like try to make it a point to at least have like some sort of conversation with people, even if it's just something small and minute that isn't wrestling, or even if it's big and grandeur that is related to wrestling. Like it's it's one of those things where like consistency and showing face is the best route to take because people, believe it or not, remember faces more so than anything else. And once they see you enough times, then it's gets to a point where it's like, all right, I see you hustling, or whatever it may be. I see you doing this here or doing that here. So it's a grind. You have to also make sure that you have a proper social media presence so that it's worth the effort that you're taking into account and stuff like that. So it's uh I would say, just managing content creation and making sure that you're showing face to the people that you are trying to get on the show for, and being personable. Lots of people feel like they don't need to be personable, but it never hurts.
I'm not in the business, so to speak, but as somebody who tries to do the podcast, I couldn't agree with you more. Like just getting out there and asking whoever and everybody and um, being personable, professional, it goes a long way. Like
Hmm.
um, just because speaking as a kid who has nothing realistically to do with it other than being a fan, and now in a way being a part of this world, it's all about how you present yourself and just really going for it. Like
Hmm.
just shooting the shot out there. And my dad always refers to it as throwing shit at the wall and hoping it sticks.
Yep.
So
Yep.
it's how it works.
Yep. Yeah,
Um,
that's the same mentality. Like that's just how it is, and eventually it will.
yep. Earlier you mentioned Jeff Hardy.
Yes.
I am a huge Jeff Hardy fan growing up in, the late 2000s, early 2010s. Jeff Hardy is everywhere doing the most insane things ever. I've
Yes.
jumped off plenty of ladders because I watched him do it. I take it he's an inspiration.
Yes, he's definitely one of many inspirations in wrestling, but he's definitely like him and Sting are like the main reasons that I uh what I like to call the mark of passion that I have on the side of my face. They are like the main reasons why I do that. And it's just like them, the Great Muda, and Kenny Omega, just like Macho Man Randy Savage, having all these like Shinsuke Nakamura, all the grand pomp and circumstances is like what I love, like part of what I love about wrestling. It's like you have like the grandeur like element of it and the presentation of it, and it's just like it's so alluring to the eyes that it just makes you want to not look away, whether it's like the gaudy fabulous outfits or the crazy looking deadly moves or stuff like that. It's like all of the wrestlers that I mentioned and much more have like inspired me in so many different ways, whether it be like my move set or whether it be the way that I present myself. And it's just like it's so great because you'll go back and like you'll find something new that from a match that you've seen like 1,000 times, but it's like, oh shit, the way that they did that was really cool. The way that they reacted to that was really dope or something like that.
You mentioned quite a few individuals. Something I usually do at the end of the podcast, but I'm gonna switch it up today. I like to ask about a Mount Rushmore. And I always just define it as your four favorites. Like, who do you
Yeah.
think just deserves to be up there? And what do you think your answer would be?
Well, obviously the Great Muda and Macho Man Randy Savage would be on there.
Okay.
Jeff Hardy as well. Now the last spot is very, very hard for me because you see I'm looking around right now. I have like a bunch of action figures displayed and stuff, and I'm like trying to like pinpoint a wrestler that like is my favorite, like is like deserves to be on the list. And like the more that I'm looking, the more I'm like, oh shit, but what about that wrestler, what about that wrestler? um for the last one I will say Julia from not Julia Hart, but Julia from Stardom. She's on NXT now though, but yeah,
Okay.
yeah, she she is my favorite wrestler
She's
of
a
all time
badass.
now. Yeah, she is my favorite right now. Like I started watching her in like 2019, 2020, and like I've just been a fan since. Like she is badass. Like she has the outfits always on point, the different hairstyles, the different looks. It like I definitely take a lot of influence from her as well.
She's one of those people, I'll be honest, I didn't really know of until coming, like you hear about her coming in NXT, but then
Hmm.
they made such a big deal out of it. It was one of those I have to go figure out what she's all about. And I've
Hmm.
spent hours watching her stuff, and she's incredible.
Yeah, her
So
match with Hana Kimura at the year-end climax was the first one that I watched of hers. That was because of Hana Kimura, because I was also a real big fan of hers. I mean, still am, but you know, rest in peace to the GOAT. Um, but Julia Vershuri for the red belt, the World of Stardom champion. Uh, it was at the it was at the finals of some tournament. I forget what it was. I think it was the finals of the 5 star. Julia had
I
won
think
the
I know what you're
five
talking
star.
about.
Yeah, that match because because Julia had, or Shuri had kept getting the best of Julia, and Julia was just like not having it. Finally won the 5 star, and then went on to beat Shuri, and that shit was crazy because Shuri used to be in DDM, then left to form God's Eye, and it was just a crazy like match to watch, and like I was all in. I was locked in on that. I've
I love to
watched it
hear
like
it.
so many times. Like it's a damn near hour long match, and I've watched it like 100 times plus.
Um, you mentioned Kenny Omega.
Yes.
Growing up, teenage years, first like early teenage years, it was definitely CM Punk. Moving in, Kenny gets into the Bullet Club was my favorite stuff ever. I literally watched every Kenny match from like 2015 until he went to till they formed AEW. Like I did not miss a
Yeah.
Kenny match. Um, you know, what do you think like somebody like that, his legacy will be moving on, you know? I like I guess what I'm trying to say is like AEW, I don't think he's hit the mark that he did in New Japan. Do you think that's something he could, fix and then maybe like what do you think be in that GOAT category potentially?
Um, because I am a super fan and I will blindly have my allegiance towards Kenny Omega, I'm going to say yes, he is
Okay.
still the GOAT, even with his misses here and there in AEW. I personally have really enjoyed Kenny Omega in AEW. I knew that he was super like he's been stupidly banged up since
Yeah.
like every G1 he's had. Like I
Hmm.
know the one he had with Naito like really rocked him, and then of course, hard hitting style. But yeah, I think the legacy. I think already left like a crazy legacy already because like New Japan is good and it's great. Don't get it twisted. Like I like watching New Japan, but like it wasn't as talked about as it was when Kenny Omega was there. Like Kenny Omega really put them on the map and was really able to show, hey, I can make not just American wrestling interesting, but I can make Japanese wrestling interesting. And that's like the to have like Kenny Omega be the one to like sort of start to bring like Japanese wrestling over into the mainstream and into like a bigger talking point than what people thought that it was is like really impressive, and it only further fueled him to like him, Bucks and Cody to form AEW. And like I couldn't be more happier because now that I'm a wrestler, this shit it's helping me a ton because it's like it's given all us indie wrestlers to not only go harder, but we have like multiple options to be able to sign to. We have multiple goals to be able to get to. It, there's no shortage in that. So
Yeah,
I'm like, I the legacy he's left will be too many accolades to name for real because he's done so much for the wrestling business as a whole. So he will forever be
definitely.
the GOAT.
I do want to say, just so nobody gets it misconstrued, I'm not saying Kenny's work in AEW hasn't been great, but it hasn't been the cleaner that we
No,
all know
yeah.
and love.
No, yeah.
Like
I know what you
he's
meant.
still, I think, I don't know, he's probably my favorite. I've always been, I don't know what it is, but every leader of Bullet Club up until maybe Jay White. I've just loved AJ, Finn, Kenny. I like Jay White. I don't think it hit the same way as the other guys, but Kenny is. My dad always used to tell me I would ride, so to speak, when it came to Kenny Omega.
Yeah, hey, it's Kenny Omega.
um, you mentioned action figures.
Yes.
I am a huge action figure collector. My YouTube channel is literally based on an action figure wrestling federation that I've created.
Nice.
Um, so what's it like, being a wrestler and, collecting and, once you get into the business, now it's a hope that maybe you could have a figure. Like, what's all that like?
It's great. Honestly, like it's really fun because like I got into action figure collecting before I even became a wrestler. So I was already collecting like wrestling action figures and stuff like that before I even stepped foot in the ring. So I already had like a pretty nice collection of like here, there, like not so much wrestling figures. When I became a wrestler, I started buying more wrestling figures. But I already had enough beforehand. Um I don't know what really started it, to be real. Um, but to your point, yeah, I do hope to get an action figure of myself, but like because I collect so many action figures, it's gotten to a point where I'm like, I kind of want to do a custom action figure of like myself and like all the members of Top Team. I just got to figure out like the specific body bucks and parts that I want to use for everyone. Because me personally, like I also like the import figures as well. So like the more higher expensive Japanese import figures and stuff. And I'll collect
Like
those.
the Super 7 and Storm figures, stuff like that.
Like Storm Collectibles, Mafex, Figuarts and stuff like that.
Okay.
Um
I got a couple.
I Yeah, I do have some of the Super Sevens. I have the New Japan first wave Super Sevens. I want to get the second wave, uh, and then I want to get um the El Desperado Storm collectible. I just got uh Minoru Suzuki from one of the wrestlers I train with, one of my friends, Sabretooth. I just got it from him, and that
That
Minoru
figure's
Suzuki fight,
badass.
bro, it's so good. I was.
I love it.
Like it's so good. I love the black tights way more than the white tights, not just because I
Yeah.
have it, but because I'm not trying to dirty. Like if I get the white tights, there's no way I could open it, you know? Um hold on. Let me show you like my not my prized possession, but like the greatest pull that I've had is this Chase 1 of 1,000 Riho action
Okay.
figure. Yeah,
That's badass.
fucking yeah, I had ordered from Ringside Collectibles one day and I was like, "Oh, I'm gonna, order this 4 pack and this ring." And they had given me that and I said, "Bet, this is glorious. Like I'm good." And it's a one of 1,000 because now
I
their chases are one of 5,000s and stuff.
I got lucky. I got three 1 of 5,000 John Moxley's. Um,
Ooh.
I'm a customizer myself. I did open one of these just because the head scan is crazy, and I was like, I got three. It's not gonna hurt me. Um,
Yeah,
so I did open one, but I have three 1 of 5,000 Moxleys. I
yeah.
keep two of them on the wall because I'm a huge Mox fan, and I was like, I can't get rid of them.
Yeah, no, you can't. You can. Next step is getting it signed and then getting the protector case on it.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Um,
I get it.
you mentioned customizing. Is that something you do? Like, do you customize figures?
Not often. Like when I was a child, I used to do that. Like I had Bionicles, so like I would mix the Bionicle parts there. But like as for now, like the most custom stuff that I've done is mainly doing like small fixes on like my figures. I had gotten this my older brother had given me this Trunks figure arts that the sheath on the sword that he has broke. And so I had like MacGyvered this little plastic thing to be able to uh hook in and out so that the sword can stay on Trunks's back. But as far as like actual like boiling, taking the figure apart, repainting, I haven't done any of that.
I got
I
I
really
got a
want to.
couple just laying here. Moxley here. I haven't finished him. Still work in
Yeah,
progress. I got like the kick pads and
hell
stuff
yeah.
like that. I'm working on a swerve. I'm not a big fan
Ooh,
of the AEW figures. I'm not gonna lie. I don't like they get loose way too easy. So any
yeah,
figure I get AEW wise, I try to make an elite. I just think
yeah,
Mattel knows how to make figures better.
yeah. Kiki's joint fix is something that helps with like loose joints and stuff.
What's it called?
Kiki's joint fix.
Okay.
Yeah. It'll help like tighten up your figures and stuff like that. So
Well,
yeah.
like I said, I have like that little like action figure federation or whatever you want to call it. So I'm
Mm,
always posing them and taking pictures, and they get
yeah.
loose real quick. So I'll look that up, maybe get some of that. Thank you.
Of course, of course. I watch a ton of action figure reviews. Like I'll even order like custom kits sometimes just to be able to have some for my figures. So yeah.
Well, with that said, maybe with some talking, maybe I could put together a custom Neji figure and get that
Hell
to you.
yeah.
Maybe that's something maybe I can work on.
Hell yeah, bro. Appreciate you. I'd love that, man, because I'm trying to figure out like what head sculpt I want to use. Like I'm probably gonna have to say screw it and just get like a Nakamura head sculpt or get like a Seth Rollins head sculpt and paint like half of the face or something. Probably Seth Rollins because he's got a beard more similar to mine.
I'm
But yeah.
sure I got plenty of stuff. I'm sure maybe I could throw something together and we'll see if you like it.
Hey man, I appreciate it either way, for real. That's love, man, for real.
I of course it's
Hmm.
it's fun and I enjoy interacting. The interaction is the best part. And
Yeah.
action figures is wrestling action figures specifically is probably like one of the biggest things that got me to where I'm at. It's the main part of my channel really,
Hmm.
other than the podcast. So yeah, if I can make a custom figure of somebody that's going to be a future world champion like yourself,
Hell yeah.
I'll be glad to do it.
I appreciate you, man, for real. That means a lot.
Getting back to wrestling, um,
Yes.
something I was scrolling through your Instagram. I noticed you got to actually work with AR Fox. What's it
Yes.
like, going from training with somebody to now you're in the ring working matches with?
Uh Surreal. Like it's very surreal working with AR Fox because like he'll like apply everything that he's taught you, but like it'll just be different because like it's your trainer and shit, and like it's the vet of the match, but it's still like the the like the greatest underground vet that you'll ever see, ever meet and stuff, like it's such a positive experience, and it's so fun because he's not like, he doesn't try to like take it over. Like he'll do his shit and he'll like make sure that, everybody has something that they want to do. He don't make it a point to like just get his shit in and then forget about you. Like if he can incorporate it in some way where it's all of us interacting, then like he will go that option for sure. And it's just fun, like it's no different than anything else. It's just it makes you feel like damn, like when you are in the ring with him, it's like I got to step my game up even more so because you're seeing it, like right in front of you. You're seeing the movement, seeing how fluid everything is, and it's like, damn, I gotta go harder. Like it's always like that. It's the time old saying of iron sharpens iron is true, Like it's you gotta keep going. You gotta hustle, and you just gotta keep improving and keep perfecting like the craft.
Okay. Something else that like I noticed by going through social medias, before Sting retired, him and Darby made an appearance at the A4 where they attacked AR Fox. Was you there for that?
I was there for
What was
that.
that like?
Uh it was it was incredible. Like I was it was I had just when was it? It was June or July of last year. I can't remember. I think it was June or July of last year. But
It
I
was
was on
before
the
All In.
yes, yes, yes. I was on music because like I had just came back after I broke my jaw and was like training and stuff. And so on the Thursday shows, I would do like the music and stuff for all the wrestlers and just make sure that the crowd was bumping with everything. So when I'm sitting at the booth and I'm looking at Fox, just like looking at the camera, just like freaking out and everything. I look to my left and I see Darby just walking over to the ring, like just rushing over to the ring, pushes Travis 3000 down, which was hilarious. Like, I'm sorry, dog, but that shit was too funny. I see him push him down, starts going, and then I look over at Fox. Sting is like walking right behind him. I'm like, is this actually fucking happening right now? Sorry to cuss, but like,
You're
man,
good.
I was like, I was elated. And then they start walking out, and I'm like he's like over right here. Like I could damn near touch him. Like I was, I was starstruck. Like Darby Allin, I was like, oh my God, what? Sting pulls up, and I'm just like, what? Like Sting was here. Sting was here. I
Did you get
like,
to interact with him at all?
unfortunately, no. Like as soon as that happened, they did have to leave. So they were running short and stuff because I think Collision was still new and stuff, and they were doing like I think they were doing like a live rampage or something like that. I don't know, but unfortunately, no, I didn't get to interact with him, which, that's okay. I know I'll see him down the road and stuff. But it's just like in that moment, like I can remember it clear as day. I'm sitting next to Danger, Mr. Danger, and everything, and me and him are just like we're just just going crazy because we just like we see Sting and Darby Allin, goddamn Sting, and it was just like so surreal too because like we were going crazy on the Thursday shows, like we still do. Don't get it twisted, but it's just like we got Sting. Like we got Sting on a Thursday show, and it was on AEW too. So like seeing it like there and like seeing the A4 get mentioned and all sorts of things, it was just great. Like it was great. I was so starstruck and I just couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe that Sting was like within arm's reach.
Um, Earlier, you mentioned goals. Um, what would you say like the long-term goal is for you as a competitor?
The long-term goal, the long-term goal would be to get signed. Where? I don't know. I'm going to let the universe decide that or let the fans decide that. I want to enjoy this ride for as long as I can. I want to be that journeyman pro wrestler going all over the world wrestling. I I would love to be signed. Like if I can get signed within like my first 5 years, that'd be amazing. Like that'd be that I wouldn't have to worry about that much. I could be able to help my mom out with a bunch of stuff. I could be able to get my own place, get get more stuff for my car or something like that. I could do so much once I get signed and stuff, and like to be able to have that ability to provide for my own mother would be like the main priority for me, just to make sure that she's okay and she's good. So, uh, yeah, the long-term goal is absolutely to get signed, but I'm not going to not stop and smell the roses. Like I make it a point to live in the moment and make sure that I remember the moments that happen instead of just going so hard and not not remembering what happened in December 2022, for example. Like
Yeah.
I want to experience this in my own way and take it at my own pace while still putting my best foot forward and making the towns, making the drives, and doing everything I can to show face and display passion.
Okay. I'd say, looking at your work and talking to you, it definitely seems like something that is more than possible.
Yeah, I
And
appreciate it.
I can tell you, as a fan, I'm rooting for you. And, I don't know if I mentioned it off camera, but one of the points of the podcast is just to get talent's name out there, just so they can get recognition. I know I told you, like, I'm from Chicago. Maybe people in Chicago can see you, and people
Yeah,
all around the world can maybe get a chance to know you a little bit better and get to see your passion and your aspirations as far as where you want to be in the business.
hell yeah, for sure. And I
Um,
and I greatly appreciate it for real, man.
of course. Um, I would like to end it off on a word of advice. Like I try to leave on a good note. Is there any advice you have for somebody trying to get into the business, or even somebody that is where you're at that you like maybe might help somebody?
Don't be afraid. I know that's easier said than done. And like you can say that all day and not really worry about it, but like it's true. Like in anything that you do, whether it's a move that you do or whether it's a conversation that you have or anything, don't be afraid. Like quite literally, take a deep breath, say fuck it, and then go and do it. Like, again, easier said than done, but it's like this pro wrestling is not easy, physically or mentally. You choose, or I shouldn't say that. I shouldn't phrase it like that. Like the battles physically and mentally are vastly different from each other. And it, the pain that you feel will make you want to think that it's not worth it, but it is worth it. So don't be afraid. Don't be afraid to try and succeed, and don't be afraid to try and fail, especially. Because if you don't try and fail, then you're not going to know what you can do to try and succeed. So that's my whole thing. Like, do not be afraid. It's it's hard. I get it. I trust, I understand, but just don't be afraid, and like you will make it. Like, if you think you won't make it, then try again. Try again until you think that you will, until you feel that you will. Because if you ain't having fun, if you ain't enjoying this, why do it? So don't be afraid to, like, don't be afraid to do. Don't be afraid to do. That's really the only advice that I can think. That's what I tell myself anyway.
Okay. I know we plugged them at the beginning, but just in case anybody missed it, do you want to plug your social media handles just one more time, just in case?
Yes, of course. So all of my social media handles from Facebook, Instagram, Twitter is Neji Ichiban. Alternatively, you can type Neji_Ichiban. I'm on YouTube at Neji Ichiban. It's all the same. Don't worry, I made it less confusing for everybody. Um, those are all of my socials. You can follow me, shout me out, retweet my stuff, help me out, and everything to get me and my boys' top teams' names out there for real.
Of course. Man, I want to just before we go say thank you. I really do appreciate it.
Thank you.
It means a lot having not only yourself but the A4 show their support for ILW Pod. It's meant a lot. You guys have given me a good portion of the content that I've been able to put out as far as the podcast so far, and I greatly appreciate it.
Hell yeah, of course. We appreciate you taking the time to highlight us and give us the spotlight to get our names out there.
Of course. I feel like we've only scratched the surface on some stuff we could talk about. Maybe we can get back on here and shoot the shit a little bit more. Maybe there's some things we missed. Maybe we can cover that at a later date.
Of course. Hell yeah.
Sounds good, man. Thank you one more time. This guy's was Neji Ichiban. Go check him out on all social medias. Or if you were around that Georgia area, go check him out in person. We're excited to see what's next for you, man.
Hell yeah. I'm excited to take that next step forward for sure.
Sounds good. We will see you soon.
All right. See you soon, man. Appreciate you.